Hi guys, it's Neil and Gavin here from Tayar podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about the band called the Crom, which Gavin went to see on Friday the 14th of March in a local pub in Perth. Gavin's going to speak a little bit about how he found out about them. Gavin, what were your first thoughts?
So, it was great. I'm kind of a bit speechless, so I'm not quite sure what to say, but it was great. The guys played absolutely fantastic. I even said this to the lead singer at the start of the night, that indie rock music is just not my thing, which I've said in the previous podcast where we reviewed the Corollas. It's just not my thing, but the songwriting was fantastic and I just thoroughly enjoyed listening to the Crom.
So who are the Crom?
So there was a four-piece. You had Alan on rhythm guitar and lead vocals.
Yep.
You had Frankie on backing vocals and bass guitar. You had the lead guitarist, I don't know his name, and then you had the drummer who also sang backing vocals. How I found out about the Crom, because I don't think you know them, Neil, do you? You haven't heard anything of them.
No, I haven't even heard their music.
So it's actually through our work colleague, Brody. Brody's the youngest brother of both Alan, who's the lead singer-songwriter, and Frankie, who plays bass. So it's his brother's band, and it was one day we were in the van, we were taking it down to another yard, and he said, "Oh, I'll let you hear some of my brother's music." And I can't remember the song, I don't know which one it was, but he let me hear his brother's music. It was a total 90s sounding. I can't even say it was sort of Oasis inspired, because it just didn't. The way they were branded to me was an indie rock band. So to me, I was immediately thinking of bands like sort of that mid-noughties indie revival scene. So things like the Arctic Monkeys, the Fratellis, not so much the Cooks, but that kind of jangly, stabby, kind of angsty, loud, punk-inspired, or punk-fueled, should I say, indie rock.
Oh, that sounds right up my street.
But it wasn't like that at all. I mean, it was totally... It just made me think back to the 90s and going to see bands and the sound of things of the 90s. I don't want to say Britpop, but there were elements of Britpop. As I said, I don't want to say Oasis, because there were elements of Oasis, but it wasn't full-on Britpop nor Oasis. It just had a beautiful song structure, and it was just such a pleasant experience.
So they know how to compose a song. They know how to...
Alan definitely knows what he's doing. Looking at the set list here, because I was fortunate enough to get a set list.
That's a big set list.
Oh yeah, they played for... Well, what did they say? So the support act went on 7:30ish.
Okay, so who was the support?
Johnny Blaney was the support act, and that was a guy from Dundee. He had a bass player, and he had some guy from South Africa who joined them on electric guitar. Johnny played acoustic. The way that I would describe them is they were more of a mid-noughties indie rock sound with a bit of a punk, sort of that 80s, not so much full-on 70s punk, but a bit of that 80s like post-punk, like The Clash.
Alright.
Yeah, it was more that sort of style. They were definitely of lively pace, and they had a great stomp and pulse throughout. I don't know who he was, so I wasn't quite sure what I was expecting, but he was good. The electric guitarist that played well, he had phenomenal tone. It wasn't like a driving rock sound, but it had just enough gain to give it a colourful bite to his solos and improvisations, and sort of his lead work over the acoustic guitar. But the thing that got me about Johnny is it wasn't so much his songwriting. The songwriting was okay. I mean, again, it was sort of a general indie rock thing. What drew me so much to Johnny was his vocals.
Good singer, yeah.
Oh, phenomenal. I wish you were there, Neil, because it was so phenomenal. I mean, he wasn't a generally good singer, but what he was doing, he was phenomenal at. He had an amazing voice. So I don't really know their entire setup. I would actually quite like to go and actually see him. I think he would be really good. So yeah, so Johnny Blaney was the band from Dundee. going back to the Crom, I actually had a conversation with them before they performed their set. Alan said that the band sort of first originated back in about 2003. I'm sure he said it was roughly about the time when they were leaving school, or kind of just post school. But they took an extremely long hiatus. I don't know. I think periodically he's maybe gone back to writing music and kind of done little things here and there over the time. But the Crom really gravitated back together in about 2019. Since then, they've released 2 full-length albums that are all available online. And at the moment, I know that they're working on an EP. But the biggest highlight was for Saturday, so the day after. It must have been a family day at our local football team, St Johnstone Football Club. They were invited to play at the family event. I think that's fantastic.
So they played McDermott Park prior to the football happening.
They didn't play actually in McDermott Park. I think it was more to do the training pitch that's outside, just outside the ground. There must have had an event there for them. I just think that's brilliant. Looking at the set list here, they definitely played for over 2 hours. Definitely, because they were pushing themselves to get the curfew done. As I say, after the show I spoke to Alan and he said, we could argue that we could play for about 3 hours. So that's a phenomenal length of time for a young band to be playing for.
Yeah, that's a lot of catalogue. That's a lot of catalogue.
So over the time, Alan still kept going and he's been doing loads of things, but I just don't think he's ever formed a band together or put a band together and pushed himself to go out there. Very, very sociable guy. All the people that were kind of around that night, they all knew of Alan. Now I'm going to get back to the set list here. There's a song, the third song that they played. Arguably this was one of 2 which were my favourites of the night, but it's called Outside Your Window. And when he finished playing that song, I'm sure it was when he finished playing that song, maybe it was when he started as well, he actually said, I wrote this for my son when my son was born. I was blown away. It was a beautiful song. There was such positivity conveyed in the lyrics. It was such a beautiful song. I'm sure he told the story of when his son was born. He looked outside the window and the sun was shining, and he thought, what a beautiful experience. And he's totally captured that when the song, because it's such a pleasure to listen to that song. Definitely.
It's a very, very big experience having a child. I remember when I first held my first daughter, it was a very, very cold and frosty morning. She was born in December, so it was the next morning, got to hold her for the first time, looked out a window and it was all frosty and cold. It was a beautiful experience.
That right there, that memory, he conveyed it in that song. Talking about the band as a whole, so you had Alan playing rhythm guitar and singing, and I mean, when most people play rhythm guitar you think that they just strum. No, Alan was doing everything that he possibly could. He was strumming rhythm, he was picking the strings individually as well.
What type of guitar?
Oh, now you're asking.
Electric?
It was an electric guitar, but I can't remember. I'm sure it was a Fender. Frankie played a precision bass. Their lead guitarist that they have, I didn't capture his name, I don't know who it was, but he played a Les Paul Studio, and the sound that he was getting was like phenomenal. He just blended right in at the back and he did his part, and it just sounded excellent. There was almost like a 3-part harmony at one point, because Alan and the drummer would sing a line, Frankie would come in, but then the drummer would come just at the back of him with another line as well.
So it was a good night?
Aye, it was. Regarding the venue though,
it's not a concert hall, it's a pub.
I don't know how to name it. It's Slainte.
Slainte.
What?
It's Scottish for cheers. Slainte.
Slainte. Is that what it is? Right. So that's the pub. If anybody knows Perth that well, it's on South Street and it's opposite Tesco's. It used to be the old Scaramouche. So it's not exactly a big pub. It wasn't an ideal place to get a full band in, but given respect to the owner, who Alan introduced me to, come out just after halfway through the set And he said, he goes, you know what? He goes, there's something that we don't do here in Perth. And he goes, and that's acknowledge and celebrate talent. He must have known Alan for a long time. But anyway, he came out, he brought on about them playing at McDermott's Park on the Saturday, the next day, Saturday, and he presented them with a bottle of champagne. I thought that was a really, really nice sentiment.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. Nice touch.
Yeah, but the venue, they were kind of cramped in the corner, to be honest with you. I think
it's a pub. It's not a gig venue.
No, it
wasn't expected. They weren't on a stage.
No,
they weren't doing anything like that.
They were kind of huddled into a wee corner.
So we expect to see more of them in the future on a stage, and we'll make a point of going to see them.
Well, going back to the notes, currently for 2025, they're wanting to focus on recording their new EP.
So this is what they want to do
this is
what their future is.
This is what they want to do. They want to really put a lot of work in, because I can't remember what the new songs are. They're on there somewhere, but they sounded really, really good. Somewhat different again, just different in a sense of season. Mm-hmm. Like they know how to songwrite, so this time they were wanting to put emphasis more on, I don't know if it's a message or if it was just a sound, but they wanted a kind of more completed package coming through.
Sure.
I can't remember exactly the details, but I'm sure it was through Wigwam Radio. There was an Indie Rock Awards or something like that, hosted down in London, and they won Indie Band of 2024, I think it was. And I'll never forget his comment that he made at that award ceremony when they collected it. He said that his high school teacher, Mrs. Thompson, she said to him that he never had a musical bone in his body. And to be fair on her part, back then, maybe he didn't, but he certainly does do now. I never actually said that to him, but he definitely does. But yeah, I thought the Crom were amazing. That indie gig that we went to see at Glasgow, right, kind of I said in the podcast, I was a bit disappointed with the quality for Glasgow. When I was younger, and I'm going back sort of 10, 15 years ago, when I was going to see the occasional gig in Glasgow, it was really of a professional level. They were really honed in, and they knew the performance was extremely good. For a young band, for an unsigned band, it just seemed extremely semi-professional, if not professional. But that gig, the Corollas, like I was disappointed because I don't feel that it was the same as what I've known Glasgow to be. I don't feel that the performance was of the same merit. The Crom, if they played with the Corollas and supported the Corollas with the Martels, that would have been a phenomenal night. Not being too genre specific. See, if you're looking for a young band, or not necessarily a young band, but an independent band, definitely go and look for the Crom. They've got gigs in Falkirk and Stirling sometime in May. They're also possibly going to be playing the Heartland Festival, which is at Pitlochry.
Yep, I know Heartland. Heartland FM.
Can't mind when that is. I'm sure that was July time, June time, something like that. I got laughed at because I said, have you got any CDs? And he said, no, they're all available online. We don't do CDs. And I thought, well, I'm a dinosaur, so I want the CD.
I want a bit of plastic.
So he said that he was going to send me some stuff.
Cool.
I don't actually know what I've got. I've been a bit neglectful of the emails lately, but I've got some serials. So the songs underneath this podcast, this is by the band. I'll make sure that I put links and stuff. You can check out their social media pages, and if I can find a link to, I don't know, their Spotify page or something, I'll make sure to add that as well, and the titles of the songs as well in the description here on the podcast.
So all in all, the Crom are brilliant. The dogs, and we want to go and see them again. Yeah, I've never seen them.
No, definitely. So I was just actually thinking about this earlier tonight. Remember the first time we've seen? Remember the second review that we done for Tayar podcast, and it was Bad Actress live at Twat Amps?
Yes.
Right, so remember that local authority band?
Yes.
It was kind of that sound, but so much more better. Because they had a kind of a 90s sort of jangly bit in them.
Yeah, but a bit like.
But it's so much more better than that. It's so much more polished. It's so much more clearer. I'm not meaning to sound detrimental to local authority, because what they do is really good. But to try and help Neil understand, it was kind of like that, but a lot more polished and clear cut and better presented.
Yeah, so I liked local authority a lot. So
you did.
I mean, it's going to. Yeah, they had a very Arctic Monkey sound, as you said earlier, it's going to be. Well, I can't wait to see them. I just can't wait.
Yeah.
May, June, we'll definitely get to see them.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to be another. That's going to be a re-review of the Tayar podcast in full ensemble.
Well, thank you for your review of the Crom, a absolutely amazing up-and-coming Perth band that have been around for a long time. If you get the chance, go and see them. If you get the chance, go on to their Spotify, support them. We know we don't like Spotify, but if that's the platform that they choose to use, it's there for their benefit. Go and support them, guys. Feedback to us what you think of their sound, what you think of their music, and what you think of our podcast. So we look forward to getting you the review of the next gig.